again.
Hi again, it's me, Jimmy, and I'm joined by Shaun. This is what you meant to...
No, you've now said to me this.
Oh my god, this is... You know what? We're leaving this one in. We're leaving this one. We've done this 6 times. We've done this 6 times.
The problem is, that time you set me up to just go, Shaun, and you just moaned at me for it last time.
because I went, I'm your host, Jimmy, last time, and you went, Shaun.
And I'm Shaun.
Yeah, but the audio didn't
my
pick
fault
it up.
you didn't pick it up. Not my fault.
Wow. Welcome back to the Reverbium podcast. Today, we were going to switch things up and not do a football-related one, but then Frank Lampard got sacked, so... You know, easy content. Easy content.
Milking the football content more and more. Also, there's fuck all else to talk about at the moment.
The intro this week was ridiculous. But we're here, we're settled.
Welcome to the podcast with the most scuffed intro. The Misfits claim the most scuffed podcast. We are claiming just the intro.
Just the intro is the most scuffed. But today, as we said, Frank Lampard has been sacked as Chelsea manager after 18 months in charge. Not today. And today in the podcast. Today in the podcast. I didn't mean today. He got sacked on the 25th of January, okay? 3 days ago from this recording. Okay, and since then, Thomas Tuchel has, former PSG manager, Thomas Tuchel has
failed as a manager. That's what he's done. He's failed as a manager. He's going to get sacked in the next week at the rate that Chelsea go through managers. So
yeah, and he's come in and they drew their first game 0-0, I believe, to Wolves. So as we had a bit of a rant about Chelsea are stupid for if they sack Lampard, and then a couple of days later they sacked Lampard. We're very opinionated on this. We think Chelsea are fucking idiots for this. To put it simply, I
think most people think Chelsea are idiots for this. I don't think I've seen a single person like happy for this.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times in this situation where a manager does get sacked, the fans have normally turned on the manager and going, "Oh, we want him out. We want someone else in." It's probably Arsenal or Man United, to be fair, recently. You quite often see the hashtags of whoever out everywhere, but it doesn't really happen this time. So it's a weird one, I think.
Yeah. We should probably say Shaun's got a new microphone, so if he sounds different, that's because of that. We're still getting the audio set up for this, but we just were like, we'll go for it. So if you hear a difference, if you pay attention enough, or if you even watch the podcast, that would be the reason why. But anyway, we'll continue.
Now coming to you in high definition sound.
Not if you do that, you aren't. Yeah, Frank Lampard took over from Maurizio Sarri in July 2019, I believe. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. I've just seen it in this article. Yeah, and he has lasted 18 months in the position. Their recent form, let's see, they have lost 3, 4, 5 games out of the last 8, not including the Wolves game, so before Lampard was sacked, which isn't great, and they only won 2 and they drew 1. So sure, he's not in the best run, but do you think it was deserved for him to be sacked, Shaun?
Not at all.
Not at all.
It's only been 18 months, and it comes back to, I think we've mentioned it before, how football fans nowadays seem to have short memories. It wasn't that long ago that people were praising him for how well of a job he was doing because he took over a team that were in the middle of a transfer embargo.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't allowed to sign people and performed really well with them. The point that I think both of us turned around and said in our Premier League predictions, we thought they'd come in the top 4. We think that's where they would come because of how well he'd been doing. And then on top of that, he'd been given transfer funds. And then the results haven't come this year. I think my main takeaway is I think managers need to be supported more this season, which I think most other teams have been very good at.
Yeah.
Because I think compared to usual seasons, we haven't seen as many managers get sacked.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because off the top of my head, I can only think of 2, which is West Brom, Chelsea.
Yeah.
There's somebody else.
We might be
Sorry,
missing
but your
someone.
manager's not that relevant. Because of just the nature of this season, of the so different to all the others.
Yeah.
Things are going to happen. We're going to have more drastic dips in form, I think. Just because of the intensity, they're going to have more injuries in a squad, so those players you rely on more often might not be there. And you can see it in the table of well, apart from Man City recently on their 11-game unbeaten streak, nobody's been able to put a streak of wins together.
Yeah.
Not consistently. And they've just kind of jumped on this. And admittedly, Chelsea aren't in the table at the moment where they should be.
No. Even we predicted they wouldn't be where they are. So.
But if you look at the table, there are so many teams that aren't in the position they should be in, whether that's they're doing a lot better than we expected or they're doing a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a trait of this season. And I think they've just jumped on this too quickly.
Yeah. Well, like we said, while Chelsea aren't in the position where they should be, they aren't exactly. I mean, they're 9th, I think, right now, but it's so close at the top that one game can put you in contention for top 4. Like, it's it was a bit too early for them to pull the trigger on this sacking, but they did it anyway. I think they probably saw that Tuchel was out of a job and were like, okay, this is our only chance to get a new manager. So they jumped on it, and it could be a mistake or it could be a blessing. In his one game in charge, he hasn't exactly shown anything, but it's been one game, so we can't exactly judge him on that. But I think a lot of people agree with his sacking for the simple fact that he's had this transfer window. He brought in all of these attackers, and I think you said it last podcast or whenever we said it, that he's brought in all of these players, but like they haven't gelled together as a team enough, and they're just when you bring in so many new players, is that team going to perform? And that's Frank Lampard's fault. It's not anyone else's fault at the club, really, is it? I mean, you can blame the players, sure, and they probably deserve some criticism in the way that they've been performing, but will the current Chelsea squad survive? Well, they're going to survive, but will they be as high by the end of the season as they were earlier in the season, competing for top 4? That's to be seen, but with the appointment of Tuchel, he put I think he made 8 changes to the side. Mason Mount wasn't playing, Reece James wasn't playing. 2 of the best players in the Chelsea side currently weren't playing. And you're like, okay, so what exactly has he come in to do? Has he come in to win games? Because he didn't win his first game with that team selection. And of course he might just be learning the team. But it's a little bit, what's he going to do that's different to Lampard that will bring them the wins? Have you got any idea, Shaun?
It's not only the fact that he didn't win this game.
Yeah.
It's also the fact that he didn't win against a struggling Wolves team. They have not been playing as well as they should or have been in recent seasons, and still couldn't win.
Yeah.
So obviously you don't expect, or I don't anyway, expect something immediately, an immediate change. It takes time. He's only been given, especially with how packed these fixtures are, he was only given a few days with his team. Literally, 1 or 2 days?
Yeah, and you can't blame him for that game.
So,
but the selections you can judge. Like,
so in 2 days, you cannot implement the systems you want to get your players playing the right way. So it will take a bit of time.
mm-hmm.
That he is a good manager. There's no denying that, because he's obviously people don't get the PSG job without being a good manager. He did a very well at Dortmund as well, and people take it as much as you want. Jurgen Klopp does endorse him a lot. He likes him as his successor at Dortmund, and Klopp's always spoke highly of him. So he has a record, and I think he will do well at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Well, I think he will definitely win them games. However, I think just because of the nature of how Chelsea are, their ownership is that it won't last.
Yeah, and well, speaking of their ownership, we should probably talk a bit about Abramovich when he took over.
I did want to get onto this, that there is this what's the word for it? This environment probably around Chelsea that managers just don't last long.
Yes, yeah.
Because Abramovich took over owning the club in 2003.
Yeah, I'm gonna repeat that. You said he took over in 2003. Sorry, you might cut out there. Yeah.
Okay.
Continue.
Yeah. So he took over in 2003. Since taking over, he is okay. He hasn't hired 16, but 16 different, not different, but 16 different. You could maybe call them eras, but they're not really because it's short. But
yeah,
of people taking over, because you've had Mourinho has come back twice. Yeah. You've had a few of the interim managers, that sort of thing. Thomas Tuchel is now the 16th person to take charge of Chelsea.
Well, I've got a little bit of a list here of a few people like Scolari, Ancelotti, Di Matteo, Conte, Sarri. You know, there's just, it's a long list, and some of them are great managers, or were, and you're just wondering why if this manager hasn't worked, right? But you've not given the previous manager enough time or something. Why do you think replacing a manager is going to work? But I'll let you get back to it.
So it hasn't worked for the past 18 years. Well, it has on and off. Mm-hmm. One person really has probably done it for them, which is Mourinho, who was the first one he brought in. Mm-hmm. And he's the one who's been there the longest. So from June 2014 to September 2017, his first stint, and obviously came back for his second. Everyone else, in about a year and a half, has gone.
Yeah.
Ancelotti had 2 years, sorry. That's about it. Mourinho had 2 years on his second stint. Obviously, you have a few interim managers. Apart from that, Conte had 2 years. No one's getting more than 2 years.
Who was the manager before? Was it Ranieri?
Yeah, Claudio Ranieri was the one before. He was there for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in that first season of Abramovich being there, he got rid of him.
Yeah.
The weird thing is that even seem to sack managers when they win trophies.
Yeah.
Antonio Conte won the Premier League in 2017 and the FA Cup in 2018 and then was sacked. Yeah, so Sarri took them to the Europa League and won the Europa League and got sacked. Mm-hmm. It seems to be you do something well, and then the second you appear to not be able to repeat it in the following season, you're gone.
Yeah.
Stupid. Because there are very few teams in the history of football that have been able to do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
especially in a league like the Premier League where it's so competitive, is that you can't expect to be a team like PSG where you go and win the league every year without fail. It's just not going to happen. I don't know why they seem to expect that from all their managers, because it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think especially more recently, I've seen that maybe giving your manager more time you pay off, because after about a year in charge of Solskjaer being in charge of Man United, people were probably saying, is it his time to be up? should look to get rid of him and replace him with Pochettino, was probably the biggest name I talked about to replace him, and they didn't. They've stuck with him, and it seems to be paying off. They're
Yeah, they lost to Sheffield United.
Yeah, admittedly, you've lost to Sheffield in that one game, but you're still sat second in the league.
I'm a firm believer of give a manager a chance, and we have talked about it before, specifically with United, so I won't go over it again. But you've got to give a manager a chance for them to perform. We've talked about Fergie, about how he needed the chance. We talked about Klopp, how he needed a couple years to win a trophy. You know, it takes time to build a club, and if you're not leaving your managers to do that, like if you're not giving Frank Lampard, Lampard could have bounced back easily. Give him. He needs the experience. Sure, he's a young. Well, he's not. Well, he's a young manager, but he needed the time, and Chelsea just didn't give him enough of the time, considering his first season in charge was during a transfer ban, so he didn't have the full capabilities to build a squad, and this was his first chance to build a squad, and they got rid of him halfway through the season. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to do.
He hadn't even had time to fully implement the players in his squad, because it takes a few transfer windows, because you can't always just go and buy the player you want / need for the system you're playing. So you need to give them to either let the players that you have adapt to that system and learn how to play that system, or be lucky enough to get the players you need. And although they spent a lot of money, they spent a lot of money on a few players.
Yeah.
Because and Havertz weren't cheap. That over half of that money they spent was on those two players alone. So it's not as if been able to build an entirely new squad. He's had to work with what he had before and these new ones, and yeah, it takes time. I just don't get. I know everyone wants their team to win, but not everybody can win. But if you back the person you've got in charge, give them time to do what they want to do, especially with someone like, as you said, Lampard, he is inexperienced. He was only at Derby before, and he wasn't there for a long time because the Chelsea job came open. So he's still going to be finding his feet and finding out how he wants the team to play and adapting what he knows as a manager and how he wants that team to play and how different players respond to that. So he needs time.
Yeah.
I think that's just what it comes back to at the end, is that managers need time.
Yeah, and it's like you can't blame it on, oh, he lost the locker room or anything. There are players out here support it. Thiago Silva was like, it feels like I've been working with you for 10 years, called him a legend. You can't like sit here and say that he's lost the locker room after a year and a half in charge. Oh, I mean, half a year of actually having most of those players there, because a lot of them are new players. So yeah, I think we both agree full-heartedly that Chelsea is stupid for sacking him and bringing in another manager, which they're probably going to sack in about a year's time as well. But
if
they might prove us wrong,
doesn't get something this season, like start winning games, he's in danger. If get them in like a top 4 position by next Christmas, he's probably gone.
Yeah,
and it's just going to be a horrible cycle that's continuing.
They should have at least given Lampard this half of the season. I know they might have lost out on signing Tuchel if it didn't turn out well for Lampard, but they still should have taken the risk, in my opinion, because I don't think Lampard's been that bad. I think tactically he's not that bad. Maybe a few decisions with, you know, who he bought, but you never know until they're at the club. You don't know who's going to gel together. You could get super lucky, like I mean, you with Salah, he was a good player, but until he went to Liverpool, you didn't know he'd be as good as he was.
You know? When we first signed him, I was skeptical of the signing. I wasn't raving about it, going, "Oh my god, this is amazing." Because of how he was at Chelsea previously, I was a bit like, "Oh, not too sure on it. I've now learned in the future to trust who Klopp signs because there aren't many that it doesn't turn out well for them. But
yeah.
The thing is as well, they brought in a lot of players who didn't have any Premier League experience. There were young players who primarily have played in one league.
Yeah.
With the Premier League being known as so competitive, difficult for some players to hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
So it was never going to be the easiest thing for them to do.
Yeah, the big one people like to bring up is Timo Werner, because he's pretty much been shit, to put it lightly. But then you sit there and like, okay, he's brought one forward that hasn't performed yet in like a few months. You don't know, give him that chance. You know, it's a new league. He needs to gel. Like you were saying, they've played in one league. A lot of these players are young, like Kai Havertz. You know, you don't know until you give them that chance. And he's trying to give youngsters this chance. And alright, they're not exactly taking it, but it takes time. It really does take time. And I guess we'll never know what that will be under Lampard, because he's not there anymore.
It's not Lampard's fault if Werner can't hit the target.
Yeah.
Because sometimes strikers just go through a dry phase where they seem to score. The Liverpool forwards are going through a bit now. Like, they've been having so many shots but hardly any on target.
Yeah.
In games, but they'll get a good striker will get over it. And I think Werner is a great striker. Like, he was scoring for fun in the Bundesliga, which again it comes back to it's not as competitive as the Premier League, but for Germany as well, he's a goal scorer. He's naturally gifted at goal scoring, and it will come back to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't blame him for the fact that one of his strikers isn't scoring, and at the same time, he's then got to keep playing him, because then questions are asked of going, why have you spent £50 million on a striker and you're not playing him?
Are we also going to act like Werner wasn't highly sought after by like 10 different teams who thought he was going to be the next coming of Pele or some shit? Like, he was up there with, I don't know, Neymar as one of the most sought after players in the world. And alright, he's not performing now, but hindsight's a beautiful thing, you know. And we don't even know what he's going to be like in a year or two's time. So you can't put that all on Lampard. And to say Lampard's the only problem, that was he the only one involved in that transfer? Did anyone say, no, you shouldn't buy Timo Werner, one of the most highly sought after players in the world? No, you definitely shouldn't do that. You can't just throw all the problems on him. Anything else you got to say? Or?
I don't think so. They didn't give enough time. It was undeserved. I think a lot of Chelsea fans were sad to see him go, because not only wasn't he given a lot of time, obviously the club legend, he's one of the biggest names of that, if not the biggest name of Chelsea in people's history that they remember.
Yeah.
He, apart from when he obviously had that one season at City afterwards, he was still, and obviously the teams before, but he spent most of his career at Chelsea. It's almost as if he was born and bred there. I know he wasn't, but he's just such a big name that they're obviously sad to see him go for that. And I don't.
He's a club legend. So
real fans of Chelsea, I don't think I saw any that were actually asking him to, or like wanting him out and wanting him to go.
No.
Where this is just even weirder for me. But usually you do have the calling from the fans to go. He needs to go before it happens. Where didn't really see it this time, so it kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, I think we pretty much exhausted all of our things to say on the topic. We'll try to maybe go a different genre for the next podcast, if we can find a topic that isn't football related. But there's just so much football news with the mid-season transfer window, Lampard getting sacked, you know, everything going on right now, that there's not a lot else to discuss, but we'll find something.
I'm just waiting. I'm counting down the weeks till we can talk about the Pokemon Direct for Pokemon Day.
Yeah, we will be doing that.
Counting down the days for that.
That is one of the topics we have in mind, but obviously we have to wait for that. So we'll get there when we get there.
Episodes out of it though.
Yeah. But yeah, for now, I think we're pretty much over with our Twitter competition. I think, does it end tomorrow or the day of this podcast?
Yeah, the day this comes out
should be ending. Then we will be spinning like a random wheel of everyone that's retweeted, followed everything, and then we'll contact that said person, get the details.
So if you are listening to this and you haven't entered and it is still the day it came out, you still have a chance. It will be in the evening of the day this comes out.
Yeah. We may consider extending it for a week, but I guess you'll find out if we have done or not.
If you listen to this and you haven't done it, do it. There's still a chance. So
yeah, still a chance. We may even do another tweet and get more people involved, get people to retweet that, so we have double, and we'll just get people over. And if you retweet it twice or something, retweet both tweets, then you get an extra chance to win. But we will discuss that on our own. And we'll see where we go from there. But yeah, follow us on Twitter, subscribe and like on YouTube. Follow our website. Follow us on Facebook. Mainly Twitter and YouTube and the website are the things you'll see us most active on. Shaun has another smaller announcement to make right now.
I wasn't actually going to self-plug, but
no, I'll let you self-plug.
I have got my own channel. It's called Elderon, so if you want to go and subscribe to that. Only one video for the moment, but we'll have more coming. I think of something else to say, but you throw me off track by saying that.
Just go subscribe if you're into Pokemon card pack openings and probably F1 content eventually, and whatever he thinks of. Go subscribe to Elderon. I'll probably add the channel in the description if Shaun reminds me. Anything else you want to say on it?
Well, I just thought we did have a comment on a couple of videos ago of someone asking about like what topics we cover, if we specialize in anything. If there is anything you'd like to hear us talk about, obviously we can't promise we'll be experts in, but if there is things you want us to cover, let us know. Yeah, more than happy to consider it.
Yeah, we like we said, we've done football right now because we couldn't really think of a topic off the top of our heads to talk about. Other than that,
big thing for us in general. We know a lot about it, both of us. Obviously, we do have some topics we spoke about, but like one of us knows a lot more than the other, so it wouldn't be much of a discussion. It'd be more just talking to you. So, and I think we prefer definitely more of a discussion topic, so we can go back and forward and
definitely
have our different opinions on it. So,
So
if there's anything, you want to let us know.
Yeah, if you have any ideas, tweet us, comment on this video, comment on any video. We're not expecting an influx of 20 people, but if you do stumble upon it and you're interested and you want us to talk about something, that's what we're here for. So yeah, we will catch you around on the next podcast.